Welcome everybody to today's ETRO-U. Today we have a session from Xenia, our VDC manager, and a couple of external guests that she's bringing along to flesh out the topic, and it's on as-built capture. So Xenia, I'll turn it to you and your guests now.
Thank you very much, Karina. Welcome. And yeah, so the two special guests today is Sean Gray and Daniel Murray, and I think they will introduce themselves a little bit deeper as we are going through this presentation. So would like to chat about three different technology for the as-built capture, and how I hope everyone who is here today knows ETRO standard is a Matterport, and this is software and hardware which is coming together. It's available to everyone, and everyone has access to all from 2019 recorded project by the Matterport and the Matterport server. And I would say that Matterport is a middle solution of these two technology that we will review today. As the other one is exactly LiDAR scanning, which is very high in accuracy and very high in effort. And the other one is 360 photography that actually exists as well from iPhone 11 on every phone, but as well exists like a 360 photography on special devices and explode in the 360 photography platforms, and Sean will elaborate on that later on. So we're speaking about high accuracy in the LiDAR, we are speaking less accuracy in 360 photography, and Matterport is exactly the sweet point of these two technologies between. Yeah, so wanted to elaborate a little bit about why Matterport and why we actually need this as-built capture. So I think there's two main reasons why we are doing. We wanted exactly to have and have ability to have the digital representation on site to reduce number of visits, and yeah, generally providing virtual site to everyone who would like to review that. And the second reason is, as well as we are capturing the final product, it's our visual record of which is goes back to the warranty period, to our handover package for our clients, our ETRO archive. Yep. So why Matterport was decided as the main technology out there, and why ETRO is focusing on the Matterport. There's a few reasons behind, but basically, as you know, we are really focusing on the easy solutions, something what doesn't require high education and everyone can grab tool and navigate through. The other one is the image quality. So Matterport provides very good resolution and 360 photography as well embedded in the solution. So it's provide exactly this good looking output. And the third one, I would say, as a Matterport server, we have exactly this access to the basic tools that are required to share the digital representation, speaking about nodes, speaking about measurements, and very easy access, so that you can just copy link to your view, to your 3D walk, 3D tour, and share it with anybody who is a stakeholder on this project, without further ado adding the email address, and the person needs to go through the whole registration process. So no limitation on the viewing and additional registration time. And I hope again that everyone of you knows how it works, so that it's middle size effort in comparison to the following technologies on the as-built captures, or 10,000 square feet. It can take between 1 and 2 hours, and each individual scan, exactly this gentleman is standing, that's 41 scan. It takes from 20 to 30 seconds. You will may ask what it depends on. It depends on, is it not scan number 1 or scan number 30? So the later on you're working on, it can prolong the scan duration, plus your lighting conditions. I wanted as well to mention on this slide that there are ways to increase your accuracy on the projects by implementing April tags. It's very important, particularly if you're working on the project with the long corridors. And just very quickly on the standards, I hope again that everyone is aware. This is our EDRO playbook, and this is a page which is dedicated to quality and how we're executing Matterport. So generally, my expectation on each project, it will be 2 scans. One is pre-award and the other is final product. There are more scans usually, which is happening for the tenants improvement. So it can be a mobilization stage, very important to capture. So it will be third one. It can be after demo scan as well. At EDRO, we have 2 Matterport cameras, and they available by booking through the Google Calendar. And obviously, the most important people who are here are the project coordinators, and this is their direct responsibility of capturing as built with the Matterport. The other thing which I wanted to mention in the standards, and it's my personal pain point, I'm crying if it's not followed, it's the naming convention. A naming convention, if you're starting to scan, so naming convention which you can set up on your phone, it's have to ensure that it's project already created for your particular project which you're scanning, and you're putting the scan inside of the project folder. Right? Usually address is added automatically by the Matterport, but please double check that because sometimes it's capturing the neighbor street. And very, 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 very important is the showcase name, where I'm expecting you to describe what area you are at, which level, which unit if you have. Maybe it's just unit name, maybe it's already room which you are having, and very important, the last, your face in which you are scanning. And this syntaxis is nailed down exactly on this page, and please follow it. So we are speaking about existing, we are speaking about post demo, we are speaking about pre-board or final. Really appreciate if you will not call it mobilization, close out, house and the mechanical room. It's it means additional work for me to rename your files. I would like to mention that Matterport, you may not know, have additional add-ons, and these add-ons are more relevant for property managers, but there are some which are relevant for us. And some of them are for free, some of them for the little fee, some of them for the more bigger fee. And what you have to know for us is that Matterport has ability to download point clouds. It's 2D floor plans available as DWG and as PDFs, and as well BIM files. You have to remember that Matterport doesn't provide high accuracy, and we are speaking about 1 inch, meaning that if you're downloading plans or BIM files, they may run through VDC to prove accuracy. And one example of the price that I wanted to put to the project managers, project directors out there, this is the example of our headquarters of 2 scanned floors. And for architecture and MEP model, it will be about 14,500 Canadian dollars, which I have to say, very good price for promised BIM. We had already run example of downloading this BIM model from Matterport, and I have to say, I was surprisingly impressed. So, checklist. Important to check your project schedule and add date of your scans so that it wouldn't miss. So you can go to book your scanner and follow the Matterport naming convention as a folder and in the scan names. Be nice to IT and the VDC because I see if you're following the standards or not. And with this, I would like to move forward to Daniel, who will speak further on the high accuracy scans.
Hi, so I'm Daniel Loney, the owner of Excelsior Measuring. You'll also tend to find me out in the field when all my other guys are booked up. We have about 4 guys scanning for us now out in the field, and Vancouver has 3 scanners now we have it up to. So for laser scanning, it really is about that next level of confidence and accuracy for it. Xenia, how do I progress the panels, or do I just have you do it? Sure. Okay.
Yeah,
So you'll see with a lot of the examples we have in the backgrounds, it's more of the complex stuff that you'll need to have a high amount of assurance on. So some of the things that we really want to why you go with laser scanning is because you don't want to make assumptions, right? You want to know if that beam is actually there. You want to know if it's deformed or deflected, and you have to have a high amount of confidence on it. And we really want to have these levels because that allows you to have the foresight to see where your project's going to go and your issues you're going to run into. With a number of you have already worked on projects everywhere from pre-ordered concrete exterior panels to escalators that were already ordered, finding out what you have existingly, not needing to make assumptions and fix your timelines is great. The one thing we do run into with the high accuracy laser scanning is justification of the budget, because we are to a power and many times more expensive than just using a camera on site or handheld measuring. You can go to the next slide. So why do laser scanning? Well, for one, it's really impressive to your clients as well. You look like the future. You're doing something really interesting. You can present your data in a way that's very understandable and great. You're going to have the most accurate digital twins over any other format. The only way you're going to have a more accurate model is if you're taking a single point total station that's not moving throughout a complex project, and that's going to be to your unit, but you're not getting that, and you're only going to get like 50 points from that. It is better than an on-site visit. On on-site visit, you're going to not see everything. You're going to miss things. You're going to forget things. You're going to misinterpret things. You also can't do things like measure through a floor to see if we put coring through here, are we hitting what's below? You're thinking in your mind it is, but none of those things are actually possible on a site visit, where good virtual data allows you to slice a building in half and actually see what's going on. And you get so much more. You can take pipe dimension from something that's 30 feet in the air, no problem. In fact, with our scanners, you can actually make out the bolt pattern, the bolt sizes, and stuff like that from them without needing any extra special tools like elevating a tripod or anything like that. Of course, with all this, you want to have an online spatial record of this. I think that's going to be an overall growing theme for a lot of stuff like Matterport. Getting it in your client's hands has always been a very difficult thing, and we will go over some examples of that, but that's always a main thing for that with laser scanning. One thing to know is that the local data for it is substantially heavier than any other option, and I'll kind of touch base with that. And obviously advanced quality control and assurance. Like we can make out deviations in concrete. We can do volume metrics on how much you're going to need for fill and cut. We can tell you if your structures move along with the surrounding structures. Xenia, you can move on to the next. I need a clicker. So, oh, and I love this. This image turned out great. This is your guys' speeders. Again, trying to look really cool. So what's some of the efforts involved for like time-wise, you guys think? Well, we have 2 main platforms that we roll with. And it's not always to this very specific scanner. Our SLAM scanners, which is like a mobile scanner, ours is one that you wear. It's a Navis VLX. It's anywhere between 7 millimeters to 10 millimeters of accuracy for an immediate area. Or a very large area, like a 300,000 square foot warehouse, you could be out by like 2 to 4 inches from one side to the other. But again, your immediate accuracy is very high. You're looking at anywhere between 50,000 to 100,000 square feet per hour. And your files that you get in hand are pretty much smaller. They're about 10 gigs on your computer. Your panoramics, depending on how many panoramic images we produce from it, can vary as from 2 gigs to 20 gigs. It actually be bigger than the point cloud itself. Terrestrial scanning is much higher in accuracy. Our scanner, when we purchased it, it was actually 1.6 millimeters at 10 meters. The newer ones are 1.9, so I went with that just to not cause anybody any confusion. And you're much slower, but way more accurate. So we're looking at about 10,000 square feet per hour. It'll take far longer, maybe a whole entire day, because we're looking at about 2.5 to 3 minutes per setup scan location. So there is definitely a cost off to that, but it's not really your guys' time for it. It's ours that we're dealing with. And your file sizes are, because of that, substantially larger. You're looking at about 10 gigs per project on average. Much larger projects can obviously go substantially higher. So your BC Place project on my raw end of it's over 1 terabyte in size right now. So there is some, logistical issues that come with that. And it's not unusual for us to deliver it on a 2 terabyte USB drive or a NAS in some situations we've done in the past. On that note, we do have online storage that's coming in locally for us, and we'll be producing a platform that'll give you guys that a la carte, just download as you go. And so if you don't have it locally, you'll be able to just log in and get it off of us. If there's about 1 day of scanning that has to happen, you can expect it to take roughly 1 day of registration, depending on how much transparency and glass noise there is. Most other places that take a lot longer, but we don't do any of our work on laptops. All of it's on multiple $10,000 workstations that are beasts that allow us both to ingest data really quickly, but also do iterations really fast. So if like we're problem solving on a project with you guys and something's strange and we need to do it, we're not looking at 2 or 3 days to process something. We're looking at a couple hours, which has always been a key advantage to that. So think iterative change. The asset I get isn't just a solid asset, and we can work with it and problem solve. Next slide. So this is the example. We primarily use Cintu. Now, we're not a specific platform orientated. We'll work with whatever we want, like Cubics or any of the other ones, which are great platforms too. Cintu's worked really well for us on the QC advanced side, so heat maps and other assets like that. We have here is the basic Google Map-ish kind of view. Of course, it's behind it's a restricted wall that we have access for. One of the key advantages of this too is it's not a per seat licensing fee. So when you start up a project, you don't have to think, oh, I'm going to have like 200 people in this. I need to pay for 200 seats. It's actually per setup fee. So you're looking at just the initial cost for the scans, hosting, and then you can throw as many people on here as you want. And you can actually restrict how much information they can and can't see and other things like that. Next slide. What we're looking at here is just kind of the 3 main views that you can have through it. So there's the point cloud and panoramic view. You can actually look at your BIM models with this, and it'll actually link to your BIM 360 account. So any of your updated assets that happen will automatically get updated on here. And then the main thing we like to use it very often for, and James would probably contest to this too, is being able to do the heat map reviews on them, to seeing where we have deviation. So green in this case means it's good, red means we're high, blue means we're out of tolerance in the inside. And you'll find in a lot of projects, you'll have, in this case here on the building, at the top element they have here, part of it's bang on really solid, but then we're out by a couple inches on one direction. And this was brought in with survey control. So yeah, that's just to give you an idea of what you can see and what you can make note of. And the one thing I really like about this platform too is that there is a whole tree list of how to make annotations and share that in your party. So next, please. One of the other things that we were doing a lot of and more complex scanning for our clients, this is a lasting documentation that you can leave with your clients. This is particularly has a high amount of value for all clients, but commercial spaces, I see it as an absolute must, because you don't know what tenant's going in yet. And being able to see where every single conduit and rebar is with millimeter accuracy, survey grade, means you're no longer coring in the stuff you shouldn't be. Also, you're not paying for ground piercing radar where you couldn't do it anyway. So Xenia, if you could click through. It'll give us a nice little kind of, right? So this is zoomed in. So the one thing I should say, this original image, when we originally created, it's actually 600 megabytes, because every single pixel you see is a measurement point from the scanner. And so now you'll see areas where there's a high amount of cable and conduit going through, and we're not going to try and pay $550 for somebody to go out and do a ground piercing radar because we know it won't work there. We're going to find an area proposed, and then we're going to core there. So with this kind of confidence, when you're telling your clients, oh, we're going to go there and we're going to do this, and we're not humming and hawing about it. So my one context with this was to say is we don't tell you where you can core or do stuff. We tell you where you definitely can't, because that will not have changed. So you should still do ground piercing radar for assurances, because we don't always know the timestamps for when these were scanned. And it's not a wasted $500 in that case, but we're saving you much more. And if you go to the next slide real quick, we'll show you how we can edit these for the special needs. So this client actually needed to have a different version of it that showed the cans. And so what we actually did is we sliced the point cloud in a silhouette mode that highlighted the cans in these blue round circles. And then we were able to overlay them in CAD. So not even having to go into Revit or any of these specials. And you can see the cans in CAD, and you can easily confirm which cans are there, which ones weren't. This is quality insurance. So again, we're really trying to bring the level of data to this. I can make really high risk decisions and sleep at night knowing that I had the best information possible. And even if something did go wrong, it was going to go so much more worse for everybody else. But you really have this level of all the boxes are ticked. I can make the decision I need to confidently and quickly move on to my next task. Xenia, next slide. And I apologize, I am sprinting through this. There's not a huge amount of time. This is a new one. We've just recently been doing a lot of, go back. And arbitration transparency, a fun one, right? Who loves arbitration? You're almost always building next to an existing structure these days. And we have a new workflow where we let the building owners next door know that we know that they now know that we know, because we issue this to them, that the current condition of their building is given. And as the structure goes up and a preload happens, we can monitor that to show what's actually happening and proactively either jack up a foundation or not, or just deal with it quarterly instead of waiting until a house is cracked in half while you're arguing in court over whose fault is who. This has recently been picked up by the city of Richmond in large droves by us and many of the school districts in the same area, as just that we would rather do it proactively and not deal with fraudulent lawsuits. So again, high amount of confidence allows you to be very bold in how you act with people. Ironically, with this very first one too, one of the houses in the immediate high risk area was a construction lawyer who we just actually became a client with as well, because he absolutely loved the method for it. So again, this is being able to show with high amount of accuracy current conditions of structures to the point where you can give it to the surrounding environments and people to keep everybody happy with it. Was this a hand up?
No, sorry.
Oh, okay.
It's our construction lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thumbs up from the lawyer.
Oh, the thumbs up from the lawyer. Yeah, right. Because we all love transparency. It doesn't get you out of the hook of the construction causing problems, but it gets you out of the hook of people trying to take you to court fraudulently, and you can just double fee them and be like no lawyer is going to want to pick it up. At least not anyone that's foolish and wants to waste their time. So, and on that note, I would say my background actually isn't in construction science. It's actually in finance and in insurances. So very well astute in that area. Next slide. Or is that my last one? Or is there one more after this? All right. Well, I did have one other one piped after that, but it's just basically, you didn't get it in the final update. I was scrambling to get it in there, but essentially it's stating that before we begin, when it comes to these levels of capture, you really want to talk more to us than just I need scans of this one area. We want to know what's your goals for the project, what's going to make it look like a success for you or not, because otherwise we're just assuming, right, what your actual goals were, what issues you maybe see that will be coming down the road from it, so we can proactively solve them, and honestly where you feel that we can make the biggest impact. We really try and stay away from this. Here's a building we need scanned, and us just tell you how long we're going to be there to scan it and send you a point cloud. There's so much more value you can get out of having a conversation, figuring out how we want to do this project successfully. That, for instance, this arbitration thing came out of that for our clients. So yeah, that's what we want to do for you. That's what laser scanning can do for you. I'm good.
Right. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, no problem.
And with this, we are moving to the third type of technologies and different platforms. And I will probably stop sharing, right, Sean? And you will take over.
You can keep going, Tanzania.
Oh.
Just have the one here.
Okay, so just a screenshot then, yeah?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Thanks, everybody. Good afternoon. For those who don't know me, Sean Gray with Construct IQ Advisory. So I'm working with Etro on a number of interesting initiatives, liaising with Xenia, Karina, and some other project stakeholders. I deal with a number of emerging technologies and technology partners, especially around AI-enabled opportunities and systems and technologies to improve productivity. In the lens and discussions around reality capture, the what and whys and hows, there's new emerging technologies coming online, especially ones that leverage 360 photography reality capture. Particularly, this example is from OpenSpace, company OpenSpace, where traditional reality capture, like we saw in Matterport and the LiDARs. You have the camera actually mounted to a person, so there's a wearable associated to that. So you're no longer you can be picking up the as-built situation of the work just by your typical walkthroughs by the superintendent, safety officer, project coordinator, foreman. So they can be picking up the as-built situation of the work literally every single day. Without any disruption to what's happening out there. That's kind of the route of entry for these types of the 360 capture. It's just anybody can now capture what's happening on the job site. And where we're seeing and some features and functionalities to these things on kind of core basic items is you're able to observe the current state of the work. And side by side, or sometimes overlay on that capture, what is the design? What is the model information? So many stakeholders can leverage that type of information. Your clients can observe, what's actually happening on any given day. They can jump into the project and see, rather than having to wait for weekly, monthly type of updates. Project managers as well can see the status and progress. The quality and safety stakeholders participate in this as well. They can see the situation of the work or the situation of the job site. For certain aspects, is for work readiness, access, quality, safety items, as well as we're seeing, especially for the fact that these platforms are now, especially OpenSpace, is now quite more mobile friendly. Any person's device, any smart device can have the OpenSpace app on there. So we're seeing some interesting things happen. The use cases around this is not just from the back office clients, project managers using this type of information, but actually this is enabling the trade groups, the workers, to actually have more of the design information at their fingertips. So before they go to mobilize to the job site, they can literally see from the day before, is this job site ready? Is the access there? Is there anything impeding them? Is there any coordination challenges? They can see where they're, obviously for MEPs, you can see on the screen there, they can see where their work is to be performed and if there's any conflicts. The ability to put that into the hands of the trades, the trade workers, has directly resulted in improved productivity on the job sites, reducing delays in coordination and rework, by being able to shift them to more of that proactive approach rather than just capturing the as-built for more a reactive. Problems already happened. We see the problems. Let's go address them. By putting that information to the trade workers, it's enabling a lot more of that proactive avoidance of issues, which has been very impactful for a number of groups. And what else we're seeing as well is the information, how we're using this information. The inspectors and coordinators and otherwise, they can be inputting their daily observations and things like that overlaid. And they can go back and forth, slide back and forth, and in shapes of time, see behind walls, things like that. But what's interesting is how these have evolved today. The information that we're capturing is automating a lot of our reporting, our progress reporting, and providing kind of interesting leading indicators in terms of actuals planned and where some opportunities to intervene earlier if there are drops in productivity. You can get that visibility significantly sooner and more accurately than what our status quo is today for picking up progress. These are becoming pretty mainstream in these types of tools, but it's just to show that when you shift to this type of a platform, it's typically less disruptive because you're wearing the device. It's not adding any additional workflow. You have the ability to put information into more of the stakeholders' hands and help them perform some of their functions a little bit more. And you're using that data for more proactive measures rather than just that final state information. So when you combine all three of those together, we're seeing teams improve their productivity and reducing their rework and delays. Some groups are different metrics, but some groups are stating, before they had these to after 30% improvement in their ability to meet work on time and on budget. So it's interesting how these evolve. And the AI in the background is helping kind of snap together all the photos into place. And when they do the reporting processes, you can imagine how much time we're spending, our PMs, coordinators, and otherwise trying to capture this information and report. So the AI in the background is making that almost instantaneous, which has been highly advantageous. Obviously, with the higher horsepower comes with a bit of cost as well. This open space specifically runs between $200 to $500 per $1 million of construction value. So it's tailored per projects. You don't have to apply to every single project. You can apply to the right fit project. So it is based on per $1 million of construction value. When you're going to the progress automation tracking or the proactive predictive scheduling, you're adding almost the same type of a cost as an add-on. But we're seeing, when you apply the process, you're reducing the disruptions. You're no longer mobilizing extra people, extra crews to do the pickup, and you're also streamlining some of those reporting features. Groups that are using this as a standard workflow typically see that return on investment and the value almost immediately within the first few months. So a bit of higher cost, entry cost, scalable to the projects, but it does alleviate a significant amount of stakeholder time. And when you avoid those rework items, it pays itself in dividends, of course. That's probably all we need to go about open space. If you want to go to the next ones, Xenia.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, so opening the floor by Sean to the 360 photography, I wanted to mention that there's two competitors that kind of on our review list. The other one was engaged and used on Oak Ridge food core, and this is the Reconstruct. So what will be the difference between open space and Reconstruct? I would say it's pretty much user interface is the difference, slightly the price point, and so the difference between open space and Reconstruct, how you can see that the BIM portion and the scan and the photography will be overlapped all in the same view. I have to say why we use the Reconstruct for the Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge project has enormous amount of BIM data as well, which was integrated, and in comparison to the other, it's like easy flow. And exactly this scan data is the high quality that created by LiDAR scanning plus the beam data altogether. It's heavy to navigate. That's the reason of this particular choice. And the other one on our radar, it's a Copix, which is very similar as well to the OpenSpace. The difference in the user interface is Copix has unlimited numbers of windows, so you can compare multiple dates of the scan, and you can add the beam and 360 and the point, and there can be many windows. And Copix has as well integrated cost on them progress tracking reports that important for them, exactly project managers, and sometimes clients requested that. But the rest will be the same. You're having your camera, you're running through this your walking speed, capturing the data. So with this one, I am not sure if I have time for the questions, Karina, or if you have questions.
Hey, if people have stuck around, I think you should be open to answering their questions. Otherwise, thank you everybody who did join. And it's a heavy topic, lots of information. Hopefully you have questions for Xenia and the team.
Go ahead, James, I think was first.
Oh, that was just applause, sorry.
Oh, I see.
If there's no questions right now, please reach out to Xenia, and Daniel and Sean are also at your disposal. These are very helpful tools that have significant impacts on our projects. We can talk at length, I think, about some examples. And if you want an in-depth example, go back and watch James EtroU on VDC, where he explained how it was used on his project out at Oak Ridge. Thank you very much for the information, everybody, and have a great lunch.
Thank you very much once again, our guest.
Oh,
And,
100%
Thanks,
my
everybody.
pleasure.